Welcome to this explainer. Okay, I want you to start by picturing a scenario. Imagine sitting across from someone in a dimly lit room, or, maybe they pull you aside at a crowded party. They look at you, and I mean they really look at you, and within seconds, they're casually mentioning your absolute deepest insecurities. They bring up a secret childhood memory you haven't spoken about in years. They know exactly what you're quietly worrying about today. It feels completely supernatural, doesn't it? It feels like they've just unlocked a door directly into your mind.
But I've got to ask you, what if mind reading isn't magic at all? When these folks, whether they call themselves psychics, mentalists, or intuitive guides, look right into your soul, it's so easy to feel entirely exposed. You feel like they possess some sort of extraordinary gift that you simply don't have, like they can just bypass all your natural social defenses in an instant.
Well, here is the reality that shatters that illusion entirely. It's a formula. Yeah, these are not superpowers. What you're actually experiencing are calculated psychological and verbal traps. It's a highly refined technique known as cold reading, and it relies entirely on the totally predictable ways your brain processes information and desperately searches for meaning.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. The Formula of Mind Reading.
Understanding how mentalists and dark psychologists bypass your defenses is just absolutely fascinating. Because once you see the mechanics of what's happening, you realize the mind reader isn't really reading your mind at all. Instead, they're setting a stage, handing you a script, and letting your own brain do the heavy lifting. In this explainer, we're going to decode the top 3 cold reading weapons used to create this illusion: the Barnum Effect, the Rainbow Ruse, and sourcing the least unique commonality. Now, I have to warn you right now, pay close attention, because once you understand these tricks, you are going to start seeing them absolutely everywhere.
Let's start with our first technique. Trick 1. The Barnum Effect.
If you've ever read a generic horoscope or taken one of those online personality quizzes and thought, wow, no way, this is shockingly accurate. It's like they wrote this just for me. Well, this is exactly why. Also known as the Forer effect, the Barnum effect is when someone delivers a statement that feels incredibly specific and highly personal to you. But the reality is quite the opposite. The statement actually applies to almost every single human being on the planet. The trick relies entirely on casting a massive, universal net while using a tone of voice that makes it sound hyper-specific to the person sitting right in front of them.
Imagine a mentalist looking deeply into your eyes, pausing and saying, "You have a great deal of unused capacity which you have not turned to your advantage. While you have some personality weaknesses, you are generally able to compensate for them." When you hear that, your brain instantly shifts into high gear. You start scanning your entire life for examples to prove them right. You immediately think of that guitar gathering dust in the corner, or that job promotion you were too nervous to apply for. But the dark, slightly bruising truth is, literally everyone feels like they have untapped potential. Every single one of us feels like we're underutilizing our capacity.
And this brilliantly illustrates the real secret of the Barnum effect: phrasing things as a contrast. A reader might tell you, in public you appear highly disciplined and controlled, but on the inside you tend to be anxious and insecure. Because human beings are incredibly complex creatures, we all experience both sides of that coin at different times. By stating both the outward projection and the inward feeling, the cold reader is guaranteed to be 100% correct every single time.
Let's move to and see how this builds with our second trick. Trick 2. The Rainbow Ruse.
The Rainbow Ruse is all about crediting someone with a really specific personality trait and then immediately following it up with the exact opposite trait. It's completely about duality. By offering both ends of the spectrum, the reader masterfully maps out your personality on the spot, covering the entire rainbow of possibilities. It's a guaranteed win-win scenario for them.
Watch how this pattern disruption plays out in practice. The reader lowers their voice and says, "You are generally a very kind and patient person who loves helping others. However, if someone abuses your trust, you have a cold, ruthless streak." When you hear this, you completely ignore the first part of the sentence. Being kind and patient is a standard baseline everyone likes to believe about themselves. It's a bit boring. But you absolutely gasp at the second part. Your mind latches heavily onto the words cold and ruthless because it feels like they've unearthed this edgy, hidden secret. After all, who doesn't like to think of themselves as a basically good person who also possesses a tough, no-nonsense side?
You can apply the Rainbow Ruse to almost any trait. For instance, telling someone you can be highly introverted and love your alone time, yet when the energy is right, you can become the loudest, most extroverted person in the room. By feeding you this direct contradiction, they don't even have to guess which one you are. Your mind automatically selects the half that fits your current mood or a recent memory, basically doing all the mind reading work for them.
And that brings us to our final
and frankly, most dangerous technique. Trick 3. The secret scar.
This is the technique that elevates a reading from an interesting personality assessment into what feels like pure magic. Mentalists use this to create an intense, instant emotional bond with their target. Imagine someone stops you and says, "I'm sensing there is a scar on your left knee or shin. It's from a childhood accident and you still remember it vividly." You hear this, you look down and you realize you do indeed have a scar on your left knee, and you just freeze in your tracks. To you, this feels absolutely impossible to know. There is no way someone could guess a specific childhood injury on a specific leg, right?
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the cold, hard statistics that turn this magical intuition into a completely predictable formula. Mentalists call this sourcing the least unique commonality. Look, almost every kid falls off a bicycle or trips on a playground and scrapes their leg. But why the left knee specifically? Because the vast majority of the human population is right-handed. When right-handed kids fall, their automatic reflex is to protect their dominant side, naturally turning their bodies and taking the brunt of the injury on the left side of their lower body. It's not magic, it's just statistics and biology disguised as intuition.
And there are psychological versions of this trick too. A reader might tell you you have a box or a drawer at home filled with old, unsorted photographs or keepsakes that you've been meaning to organize, but you just can't bring yourself to throw away. Almost every single household on Earth has a junk drawer or an old box of memories. But because we all think our specific mess is completely unique to us, hearing a stranger say it aloud feels like genuine magic.
So we have the Barnum Effect, the Rainbow Ruse, and the secret scar. But why are these dark psychology tricks actually so incredibly effective on us? Let's uncover the real secret behind it.
So, the crucial point is how the effort actually breaks down here. When a cold reader gives you a vague, contradictory, or statistically common statement, they are only putting in about 10% of the effort. It's your subconscious mind that frantically goes to work doing the other 90%. Your brain connects the dots, it fills in the blanks with your own intimate memories, and then, astonishingly, it hands all the credit right back to the person sitting across from you.
And that happens because of one absolute, core psychological truth. The human mind is desperate to be understood. We crave connection. We want someone to look past our surface and see our true, complex selves. When someone offers us a mirror, even if it's a slightly blurry, super generic mirror, we immediately project our own highly detailed reflection right onto it.
Understanding cold reading isn't just about learning how to perform a parlor trick. It's about recognizing the very real vulnerabilities in our own social dynamics and psychology. The illusions work perfectly if you just know the formula. So the real question isn't whether you can create the illusion of reading minds. The question is, can you handle the power once they actually believe you can? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep exploring those hidden laws of human psychology.